reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations of the district in which it is located. Staff finds that the property could yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under regulations allowed in the RO district, subject to the nonconformity of the home's existing encroachment into the 25-foot setback. Item B, the proposed variation will not merely serve as a convenience to the applicant, but will alleviate some demonstrable and unusual hardship that will result if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out, which are not generally applicable to the property within the same district. This house was originally constructed within the 25-foot front yard setback by approximately 17 feet. Strict application of the code would allow for no improvements to occur on the front of the house. The adjacent residential properties to the south have relatively consistent setbacks to the subject property, but all have front doors that face away from Madison Street. Pictures on your screen show the adjacent house at 531 Madison Street, which shows the front door entering on a side entrance, and the house across 6th Street shows it also entering from the side entrance there. From a setback standpoint, the picture that was in your packet that shows a couple of the properties further to the south show one of them approximately 8 foot off the sidewalk distance. In that case, it is the property line is about 1 foot off, and then the property further south is also encroached into that 25-foot yard front setback. The subject property's front door, consistent with the style of the house, can only face directly onto Madison Street and will with the renovation project included on the interior of the home. The applicant is not proposing occupiable space for the extension, but rather a weather-protected entrance consistent with the surrounding neighbors. The property boundary is approximately 8 feet from the public sidewalk, which gives the appearance that the home is set back further than it is from the property line. In actuality, the property boundary ends at the base of the existing front steps. Item C, the alleged hardship has not been directly created by any person presently having a proprietary interest in the premises. The home, including the incursion into the front yard setback, was constructed by a previous homeowner. The applicant did not create the setback issue, but the design, in order to be consistent with the style of the home, necessitates a weather-protected entrance, which extends the roof footprint further into the setback. The proposed variation, item D, will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood. The proposed variation will not be detrimental to the public, as the proposal maintains the residential character of the area and actually reduces it to a single-family home. We recognize that the applicant is making a substantial investment into the home, which in turn is an investment into the community. Item E, the proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties, substantially increase congestion, or increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety. The proposal should not impair light and air to adjacent properties because the roof extension will only cover the existing stoop and is not to be enclosed or occupied. Item F, the proposed variation will not alter the essential character of the locality. The essential character of the locality will not be altered. The character of the RO district is comprised of the city's older housing stock with unique characteristics on many of the different properties having varying setbacks and building styles. And lastly, item G, the proposed variation is in harmony with the spirit and intent of this chapter. Variations related to the renovations are in harmony with the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. Based on the standards by which the variance is evaluated, the applicant has not demonstrated factors A for the variance request. However, staff finds that the improvements are beneficial to the surrounding neighborhood and community in general. The Commission is the final authority and shall grant or deny the request as presented. If you would like to make a motion, staff recommends that the following motion. Motion to approve the front yard setback from 25 feet to 3 feet based on the findings of fact of this commission with the following condition. Item 1, the area under the overhang cannot be enclosed and must remain as an open air entrance with a roof.
Thank you, Lance. Is there anyone here from the public to wish to speak about this? Okay, hearing none. Commission members, what's your pleasure? Any comments, questions?
Just out of curiosity, are we going to be losing that tree in the front?
No.
Okay. Excellent.
I mean, this is one of the things that we face in the RO district all over town. It runs from Thornton Street to Madison to Garfield to the Park District to the canal. And we've got houses that are on the property line, over the property line, and it's one of the things that try to keep clean and stuff. This addition looks very nice. It's gonna add to it. The only thing this roof is gonna cover is the landing of the porch, not the steps. So the overhang's 16 inches on the house now, so you're 3.5 feet of coverage more. I mean, there's width of the stable. So, any questions or comments for a closed public
Yep.
hearing?
No, I was just going to clarify. The motion should be a motion to adopt the finding of facts
Yeah,
and approve the front yard fence. So just,
thank you. Okay, hearing none, motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Garland. Second. Second by Likens. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what's your pleasure here on this?
I'll make the motion to approve the front yard setback from 25 feet to 3 feet based on the findings of fact of staff with the following condition, that one, the area under the overhang cannot be enclosed and must remain as an open-air entrance with a roof.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
second. And again, for the record, it will be to adopt the findings of facts.
To
We have a
adopt.
motion, not a second yet, so we have to have a second before we can act on
Well, just to clarify the record for, yeah.
Okay.
it. Okay. Second by Wheeler.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
Got it. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Lycan.
Yes.
And Dustin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Okay, next case. The renewal of a special use permit for a car wash for the property located at 960 East 9th Street. We have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Peters. Second. Second by Likens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Kimberly, you're up.
Thank you, Chairman. Case before you tonight.
For the applicant on Madison Street, your variance has been approved, so thank you very much. Okay, Kimberly, sorry.
Thank you. Case before you tonight is case number 2022-005. The applicant, True Blue Car Wash, is seeking approval of a special use permit for a car wash. A special use permit had been granted for this property September 2020 and expired after the car wash use did not commence within 1 year upon approval. The property is located at 960 East 9th Street and was previously known as Lockport Express Car Wash. The subject property is Zone C2, Community Commercial. The prior owner and developer sold the property to another car wash company after the construction did not commence, which resulted in the expiration of the special use permit. However, the approved final development plans did not expire. The new car wash developer will construct the car wash to follow the approved final development plans as previously presented. The focus of this request is only the renewal of the expired special use permit that had expired September 2021. Per the zoning ordinance, the proposed use is subject to a special use procedure in compliance with the standards of section 156.122 of the zoning ordinance. Special use permit requires public hearing. Notification of the public hearing is necessary in 3 ways. All requirements have been completed. Findings of fact. Special use permit shall be granted only if evidence is presented to establish the following. A, the proposed building or use at the particular location requested is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility in the interest of the public and will contribute to the general welfare of the neighborhood or community. An automatic car wash could provide a desirable service to the community. The development of the property would be in the interest of the public. B, the proposed building or use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, utility facilities, and other matters affecting the public health, safety, and general welfare. The property is located on a major arterial roadway. at the intersection Illinois Route 7, East 9th Street and 7th Street. The car wash business is considered an impulse business, meaning as drivers are traveling by and see the business, they turn in on impulse for a car wash. This would not typically have substantial impact on existing traffic conditions. And C, the proposed building or use will be designed, arranged, and operated so as to permit the development and use of the neighboring property in accordance with the applicable district regulations. The car wash will be developed in an orderly and compatible manner. The final site plan, which is displayed on your monitor, was approved in 2020 and is not part of this review. However, the final site plan will be attached as a supporting exhibit. The approved plan shows a 4,863 square foot proposed commercial car wash building with detail area and canopy, covered pay stations, and vehicle queuing area. There are 20 parking spaces designated for the customer detailing and vacuum area, and 3 spaces which are located off of 7. The special use permit will include a variance for parking lot setback, which is 10 feet, per section 156.092, additional parking regulations. Along arterials such as 9th Street, parking areas must be set back a minimum of 30 feet from property boundaries. Street access. The main access comes from 9th Street, which is a state route. There's also access off of 3rd for a small parking lot and trash enclosure. The main driveway is 25 feet from the neighboring DQ restaurant driveway. The existing entrances do not meet the minimum driveway separation of 150 feet. The condition is non-conforming and has existed for several years. However, due to the change in use, will be addressed as a variance under the special use permit. The minimum driveway separation is reduced from 150 feet to 25 feet. Elevations. The approved elevations show that the proposed car wash building meets the city material requirements. And signage, which was included in this submittal, a wall sign along 3rd Street exceeds the maximum allowable sign area. The sign is approximately 72 square feet in area and 42 square feet is allowed, based on a 1.25 ratio of the linear frontage of a building. The purpose is to match the wall sign for both facades along 3rd Street and 9th Street. However, there's a substantial difference in building length between the 2 facades. The additional sign area will be addressed as a variance under the special use permit. The variance is from 1 to 1.25 to 1 to 2.10 ratio. No engineering, fire district, or building department comments were generated with this submittal. And shown on your monitor, should the commission find the renewal of the special use permit for a car wash acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to adopt the findings of facts as presented to recommend the approval of a special use permit for a car wash within the C2 district with the following conditions. 1, variance for driveway distance between driveways along an arterial road from 150 to 25 feet, as illustrated in the final site plan. 2, a variance for off-street parking areas setback from 30 feet to 10 feet shall be allowed as illustrated in the final site plan. 3, a variance for sign area from 1 to 1.25 to 1 to 2.10 ratio to building to sign area to allow an approximately 72 square foot wall sign as illustrated in the attached sign package. And last, any remaining comments from the prior engineering review memo would need to be addressed with the future development from the final development plan. This concludes staff's analysis, and the applicants are here this evening to answer questions.
Okay. Does the applicant want to come to the podium, or do we want, any public comments? Anyone from the public wish to speak? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Sal Gargano, I
Yep.
own 610 East 3rd Street LLC. I own the
If I
apartment
could
building.
have you sworn in, please? Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just kind of came here
Your
to
name,
kind of see
sir?
what's...
We need your name and address.
Oh, I just said, all right. Sal Gargano, 610 East 3rd Street LLC. I own 625 East 3rd Street also. I own the building that is adjacent to the car wash.
Yeah, if I could have the spelling of your last name and, oh, your first name and your last name and just
First
slow
name
down.
is Salvatore,
Okay,
Salvatore. Last name is Gargano, Gargano.
Okay, great.
So you own the building to the west of this car wash?
Yes.
Garages?
The garages and the apartment building, yes.
Okay.
So I just, kind of came here, it's little, they're going through kind of quick on the thing. I haven't seen what it looks like. My concerns are, basically, I have tenants on that side of the building. How late will it be open, and what sort of barrier will there be between my property and your guys' property? You know what I mean? From what it looks like on there, it looks like the garbage cans are next to it. Is there going to be something around it, so nothing, garbage or anything like that comes over
Kimberly,
my
could you put
property?
the site plan up on the screen, please?
I'm okay with,
Sal?
building stuff.
Sal,
Everybody's got to
excuse me, address the commission, not the public, please.
Okay. Well, my concerns were just if there's going to be any sort of barrier in between my property and theirs. Looking at it, it does look like it's hard to see, but the garbage area is right there. Just want to make sure that there's some sort of a barrier there. And then I was kind of concerned about the time. Is this going to be a 24/7 car wash, stuff like that? I mean, I do have tenants on that side of the building. I try and keep my area clean. I've never had any issues, with tenants, so I'm just here for basically looking out for them.
Sure.
It's my business, just like this is their business. I want to make sure that it doesn't negatively impact me or any of my tenants.
Thank you, sir.
That's
Bill,
all
you
it was.
understand?
Yeah, and since this is supposed to be the quasi-trial-like hearing, the applicant has the opportunity to address those questions and
Right,
concerns.
that's why we're having questions from the
Yep.
public first, and then they can address them. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Come on up.
My hearing's not as good as it used to be.
If you could raise, okay, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes. My name is Paul Derrick, Paul, and last name is Derrick, Derrick, and I live at 610 Catherine, with a Katherine. My concern, okay, first of all,
Can you hold for a second, please? So in relevance to this, where do you live? You live 2 blocks to the north or 3?
yeah, Catherine, so if you look at 3rd Street, Gloria, 2nd Street, Catherine.
So you're 3 blocks north?
Yes,
Okay. Just want everyone to make, so we know where you're at.
because it's the community back in there, or even the surrounding community, okay, is a lot of elderly people, a lot of new families are back in there with young children and that. The intersection where you're talking at, 3rd and 9th Street, very busy intersection. If you have just 2 lanes of traffic, and now you're talking people stopping real quick, if it's wintertime and you got water on that street, how many accidents are you gonna have happen because of all the moisture that's on that street? City trucks have enough problems dealing with other areas at that time of day or whatever the occurrence is. The concern is safety for the community in that, right at that area. You have multiple businesses on that side of the street. You have a busy Burcott's parking lot all the time there. I just don't, and being a citizen here for about 13 years, if you look up and down 9th Street, we've created nothing but car shops, parts places, numerous other things dealing with cars. What are we turning into? There's really not any really nice businesses here in town up and down 9th Street other than a couple of restaurants. We don't even have a family-style restaurant here in town, yet you're talking about putting in a car wash. Now, we already have a car wash, and it's not that big one, but it's a small one down on State Street, right next to the Speedway gas station. It's a little self-serve. It does its purpose. You have a really nice one right up by Coombs Corner, right on 9th Street. Just up the street a little bit, you have that nice new, and it's Homer, okay, but Homer has a nice gas and car wash right there. I'm just saying, how many more car places do we need here in town? That's all. We have a detail shop right down the street from
Bank.
the bank, correct, you know? Something to think about. I'm just a little guy, you know, trying to make a point, but, you know, how many more places do we need like that? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Mr. Garrity?
Sean Garrity, S-E-A-N, last name's G-E-R-R-I-T-Y, 209 Lejeune Avenue.
Okay, could I have you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Sure do.
Thank you.
So Sean, you're on the street that runs north-south from Third
Yeah,
Street, correct?
yeah, I also own a building down from Sal's as well on 3rd Street.
Okay.
And a lot on Lejeune, right, almost, anyway. Paul had a good point. Do we really need another car wash in town or another dollar store? I mean, is that what was criteria A? Does it benefit the community? I don't know. Maybe it does. But as a resident of that neighborhood, I think what we need to, and what I'm looking at, and I think there's a few other neighbors here as well, is what are the hours of operation? How is it going to impact the neighborhood as a whole? You know, I mean, if it's car wash, you know, okay. But what is the boundary or protection from the neighborhood with regard to the separating residential from community, from commercial? What is there a fence there? Is that a brick wall? My old eyes have a hard time seeing. And if it is, how high is that wall? And
Could you pull up the landscaping plan, please?
The landscaping plan is not part of this submittal because it was with the final
Right,
plan.
it's final.
But there is a buffer, a landscape buffer, which is required and provided along the
3rd Street
west,
side.
along the residential side. So you have the back of the building, which is just the building with the detailing area would be along 9th Street. So the commercial activity would take place along 9th. But there is buffer, there is the landscape buffer, and the trash enclosure, that was a question that had came up earlier. That is, there's trash containers that are located within a trash enclosure, which is like a fence area.
So there is a fence along 3rd Street? I mean, there used to be a beautiful
displayed.
grove of trees there. I mean, you couldn't see Shepherd of the Hill from the neighborhood because it was, and they got all cut down, and now we're looking at this silt fence for the last year and a half. I guess, you know, some kind of segregation that would look
There's a-
fine for the neighborhood.
There's a landscape buffer all the way down Third Street, and then on the west side of the property also.
The buffer is at the rear of the property, so it is not along 3rd or 9th Street. You would have the public right-of-way with the sidewalk on 3rd and 9th. There is landscaping along the whole property, but the actual buffer is at the boundary with the residential.
On the Third Street side.
So there's no fencing or anything that could segregate kids from the
So,
street?
yeah, so I would add a couple thoughts to that. There is a fence coming out of the southwest. When cars exit the facility, there is a fence that would come on the southwest portion of it that blocks the view from the adjacent apartments into the exit area.
Okay,
The
but
building-
nothing along 3rd? Oh,
bear with me.
okay, I'm sorry.
The building itself, as Kimberly noted, would be a barrier as well. It is a blank brick wall on the back side of the building. Probably have 1 or 2 downlights on it, my guess, just for safety and visibility, but nothing that would shine adjacent and off the property line. The creek is also runs behind the building, so that will go, yeah, so the creek will stay.
The 10-foot,
So the creek will continue to run through the property as it has, but it will just have a building up on the east slope of it because it's diagonal. That creek will continue up and underneath that drive that's going into the building. And then there's a stormwater area in that kind of bigger zone where the kind of pay station points are. That's those 3 islands that are on the north side. So there's a detention area in that spot that then the creek continues to the east to go under 9th Street to Shepherd of the Hill like it does currently.
Okay. So there's nothing that separates this is where the neighborhood is.
Right.
That's-
So there are, the landscape treatments there are a shrub and perennial area as well as parkway trees and trees on the site itself. The only thing that is there is the drive lanes and then the 3 pay stations.
Okay,
There aren't any other
There's
structures.
going to be a sidewalk on that side of the street as well?
there's a 10-foot landscaping easement on 3rd Street and along the property line, and then on the west side, near, facing the garages. And then there will be a sidewalk there. And on 3rd Street will be the cleaning spots for the cars to come down, come around and, you know, push in whatever numbers they're getting, and then proceed to the car wash to the southwest.
Yeah, we specifically tried to keep any main access onto the facility on 9th Street to the south.
Right.
So that the concerns about additional vehicle traffic on 3rd Street would be alleviated because of that location. Technically, there are 2 curb cuts on 9th Street that could have been taken advantage of, but we limited to just the one on the south end so that we could fit all the circulation. So really, the only way that somebody could get from the sidewalk to any area where there are people outside of somebody sitting in their car pushing a button would be to cross onto the private property, walk through the creek or the retention area and
So the
into
creek
parking
still
lot.
runs through it? I don't see it on here, I can't tell where would where's the creek kind of?
So the creek, everybody see so the creek currently comes under here
Uh-huh,
and then it will run under here.
uh-huh.
There will be a depression area here. It runs under the drive and then runs back behind the building.
Okay.
All the way south
by-
to go behind the dairy.
By the ice cream place?
Yeah.
So these cars are going to be staging in this area
Correct.
along 3rd Street?
Along 3rd Street.
Okay, and there's just some shrubs between the sidewalk and that? I guess my request would be if there could be substantial amount of shrubs to kind of hide that as best they could. Somebody addressed the hours of operation earlier, and I
We're
mean,
gonna
that's-
address that with the developer when they
Okay.
come up to answer questions.
And lighting, what's lighting going to be like? How's that going to impact the neighborhood?
So our lighting code does not allow for any foot candles, which is basically a light on the ground off of the property.
Okay.
Because the poles are so high, you'll still see some of the bulb itself, but we don't allow for any of those foot candles to come off the property line.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Hearing none. Go on up.
My name is Jason Wingate. I live at 210 Lejeune, 2 houses from that property.
Jason,
Could I, yep. Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I have the same concerns as the last 4 people. Why do we need another car wash? I live right there. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. And now we're being told no fence at all besides bushes? Ridiculous. What are the hours of the operation? 24 hours? Closes at 8? 10 o'clock in the summertime? I don't want to hear that vacuum cleaning going. I don't want to hear pressure washers going. Why do we need another car wash in Lockport? I live right there.
Where exactly do you live, Jason? You live north of there?
I
North
live
of
two
Third-
houses north of there. There's a red house on the corner, and then my house is right to the north of him.
Okay, so there's a red house faces
Yeah,
Third
the red house
Street,
faces Third.
vacant lot, and then
My
you-
house faces Lejeune, so the car wash would be to the right of me, yeah. Like, we moved to Lockport, nice, quiet, that tree line was beautiful. I come home one day, and I could see the church. I'm like, what happened to the trees? Gone. That's all cool. They could have left the trees and built whatever they wanted to, but no, they took all that down. As like Sean says, the trees are very nice to the neighborhood. Now it's gone. Now it's turning into Orland Park, it's turning into whatever, Gaberville, Bolingbrook. I'd like to know, like, what are the hours are of the business?
we're gonna address that when the developer gets his chance to
Can we do
speak.
more than just a bush fence? Can we put a fence up there? Doesn't commercial property have to fence himself off from residential?
Well, there's,
I don't want to be cutting my grass and have to look to the south of me and see 20 cars in line waiting to get their car washed. People can't wash their cars at home. They can't use the other 5,000 car
that's
washes around
that's
here.
up to the developer to decide what the best use it for his land is,
Well-
and this commission.
You should take
so-
also consideration of your neighbors.
Thank you. Okay, is there a representative from the car wash wish to speak, please?
Do I need to swear in?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Cowan, that's Billcowan. I'm with Odyssey Services Group. We're the project management firm that is working with the owner to help develop the site. I don't know if you just want to ask questions and I address
First
the
question I'd like you to address is, what are the hours of operation?
Hours of operation, from what I understand,
Please come to the podium, state your name.
My name is Bradley Staub, S-T-A-A-B is the last name, and I'm the Regional Director with Rainstorm Car Wash.
Do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So in general, our hours of operations are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. during the winter months, and during the summer months, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Is that all 7 days?
Oh, go.
Excuse me?
Is that all 7 days a week?
7 days a week?
Yes, 7 days.
Okay. So you're saying in the winter, 7 to 7, in the summer, 7 to 8, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yes,
What about Saturday and Sunday hours?
same thing. 7 days a week, it's 7 to 7.
Okay. What do you plan on doing on watershed on the entrance and exits on 159th Street, 9th Street, and 3rd Street? Water from the vehicles.
water from the vehicles will be kept on site. There's trench drains at the entrance of the tunnel and the trench drain at the exit of the tunnel. So all of the water that is used in the car washing process stays within the building, goes back to a reclaimed tank, and then is reused again for the next wash cycle. So none of the water that's coming off the cars will leave the property.
That's not, that's not factual, but, okay.
Well, there,
You're saying the water used for the wash will drain into the system?
Yes.
But you're still gonna have drip water from the car.
well, it goes through a tunnel, and there's a blower that dries off the car. So it's a conveyor system. The tunnel's 140 feet long on a conveyor. So at the very end, I'd say the last 20, 25 feet of that is the air dry system.
Yeah, that's the air dry system. So
So
generally when a vehicle leaves our property, if they have any water on it, it's a small little water drops.
So we're not talking cascading water coming off the car and coming out onto 9th Street or
So do you have a
anything.
blower for the underside of the car also then?
Say it again?
We have an underside car wash. Does the blower blow the water off the underside of the car?
Well, the blowers are down low. I don't know how much they get on the
And
undercarriage.
my point is this, I'm familiar with the car wash up by Coombs Corner there. And there's times in the winter that there's water on, I don't know the name of that street. Janine, what's that street? And sometimes it creeps out on 159th Street. And they're further from 159th Street than you are because they come across the parking lot, probably about 80 feet out of the tunnel, then they turn 40 feet to the north, and then they're on the road, and there's water on the road, so, and ice. So what is your plan for taking care of that, is the question?
Well, generally, when we have an undercarriage wash, this is at the front of the wash, not at the end of the wash.
So is it a different design than the one at Coombs Corner?
I don't know the design.
I'm just, you're the car wash guys, I'm just asking the question.
Well, it depends on the car wash company. Everybody kind of has their own way of building a tunnel. With Rainstorm, they do the undercarriage up front as you enter into the car wash. So most of the wash process takes place on the front end of that tunnel. So as the car progresses through the tunnel, there's less and less water actually being applied to it, to where finally when it gets to the drier portion of the tunnel, there's no more water being applied, it's just being removed. So the undercarriage is at the very front end of this whole process.
Right,
It's
sounds
not-
like the same one they have up there.
So at the end of the car wash, they apply what is called a drying agent. And what the drying chemical is, that's used to make sure all water is off the vehicle before they finish the wash. It helps enhances the dry as they leave the car wash.
Okay, so if this should happen, the water lands on 9th Street or 3rd Street, what do you plan on doing about it? Who's gonna take care of that? is
Well,
the
we
question.
shouldn't have any water hit Third Street, because there won't be any egress from the car wash to Third.
Okay.
The only entrance on Third Street is for some employee parking and for the trash enclosure, that's it. So there will be no, business traffic coming to the car wash via Third. So there should be no issues with Third Street.
Okay.
And we also, we bring snow plowing companies onto our lot, and we salt the lot and everything like that to make sure it's safe.
So is it your intent then, if there's ice on 159th Street, you're gonna take care of that? Or is the city or the state gonna be required to do that?
Well, there is a deceleration lane that IDOT has requested that we install. So I think that deceleration lane is about either 55 or 75 feet long, I can't remember which.
Right, that'll be
That would
coming.
probably be something that the car wash people would probably have to monitor and make sure that there is no.
Yeah, that's for coming in, before the car gets washed.
Yeah.
When the car gets washed, and the water drips all over the road, and it turns ice, who is going to take care of that is the question.
Yeah, we certainly.
We all know that we see it on 159th by Coombs Corner. That's why there's a concern. The residents have a concern, and we have a concern.
We can certainly, with our snow plowing companies that we use, we make sure that we communicate on salting areas that need to be salted.
Okay? And what were other questions? Lance, do you have anything? Hours operation, water? Now, on hours operation, you can't do any construction in the city on Saturday and Sunday before 8 a.m. So why would we let a car wash operate before the hours of 8 a.m.?
I don't recall any ordinance regarding hours of operation that it has to be 8 a.m. I just want.
Contractors?
That's like if they're making noise. So like, for instance, there's a noise requirement regarding small motors that you can't operate. I think
What's the
it was
decibel
prior
level
to
at 50
6.
feet away
Actually, it's 6 a.m.
of
that
your
you can't
blowers
operate.
and vacuums and stuff, and your dryers?
Well, as far as the wash equipment, it's encased within the building. Now, there is a central vac that is in an enclosure that would be on the, I guess that would be on the 3rd Street side of the building. There's a single vac unit that runs there, and what is being installed is a vac station. So basically, all you have is just a hose for vacuuming out the inside of your car. You don't have like 15 or 20 individual vacuum cleaners. You have one vac unit with these hoses being operated to.
So it's powerful enough to run 15 hoses then?
Yeah.
So what's the decibel level at 100 feet away?
There was a sound study that was part of the submittal. I don't have the noise right in front of me, but basically, they took the sound levels from a car wash similar construction in Hickory Hills, and from what I understood, that wasn't an issue the last time when this was reviewed. That the noise
We're not
issue.
the last time, this is a year and a half later.
Right.
So
Well, actually,
residents here asking questions.
Well, now, Before, the previous owner was going to put in individual vacuum units. Now, we're just putting in one with branch hoses feeding individual nozzles to vacuum out your car.
I understand.
So we've eliminated a good portion of the previously noted noise that would have been there at that location by just putting in one central vac.
I would just think if you're putting in one central vac, that it's bigger than 15 little ones. Is that a good assumption?
It is bigger, yes.
You know, if I could,
No.
if I could point of order, Chairman, we can't have people interrupting while you are asking questions. So, again, if I could ask anyone in the public, they have the opportunity to talk, they could come back if there's any follow-up questions, but we can't have a banter going back and forth. Number one, for the ability to keep records, and number two, that we have to make sure that we keep a decorum of civility and process in this hearing.
Thank you.
So to answer your question, yes, the central vac would be bigger than just having smaller ones. It is not coin-operated. It runs, and Brad could probably speak more to it.
Runs a push button. You push the button when you want to use it. Yeah.
Right. Well, on this particular unit, no.
No.
You pull the vac nozzle out of a holder, and the air is already working. So I'm not sure if it's...
So the vacuum pump, it stays on. So what the nozzles, and they're holding, that reduces any noise that is coming from the nozzles. So they hold, so it stays on. So when a customer immediately pulls it out, they're able to vacuum.
Mr. Chairman, what I might recommend is that the applicant perform a noise study because the method of vacuuming has changed from the previous noise study that we had, so it's not really applicable to your current scenario. So if we can have that done, if prior to a committee of the whole meeting or the...
I want this commission to hear it thoroughly.
Okay.
I don't want it moving out of here without thoroughly understanding what's going on.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have that sound study.
And in
for that
Hickory
particular-
Hills, you referred to Hickory Hills, which has nothing to do with this. How close is that to residential?
Let's see, as far as that vac unit goes,
The car wash.
I'm sorry?
How close is the car wash in Hickory Hills to residential houses? Or is it in a business district?
The car wash is in a business district.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Yes, I do. I have a question about the signage. So you want a sign on the 9th Street, on the building side, sign on a 3rd Street sign, and am I seeing here a monument sign also?
Yes.
Kimberly, could you flip that back
Isn't
up?
that, I think that's kind of like overkill. Because what would you want on a 3rd Street sign is to have people, because of the configuration of 3rd Street and 9th Street, people are going to see the monument sign on 9th Street as well as the sign on the side of the building on 9th Street. And isn't that the one sign that is it's too big per our sign
The north
ordinance?
side is too big.
The north side is too big. I just, what I'm seeing here is a monument sign essentially facing north, because that's the way the road goes in that area. And then another north sign on the north side of the building, and we're gonna, so if somebody's traveling from Speedway down to the gas station, they would see a monument sign and a sign on the side of the building, and that's just overkill. Especially if the sign on the north side of the building is going to be backlit, front lit, or ever, there will be a sign, there will be a light on that side of the building.
I believe our ordinance allows it, Darren.
Yes,
Well, I
sir.
understand it allows it, but we're asking to make a variance for the size of the sign on that side of the building.
And actually, the sign on the east elevation or west. That would technically be the west side next to the DQ. So signs are permitted along right-of-ways or parking areas. So a sign would be allowed on 9th Street and along 3rd, but not along the Dairy Queen. So only 2 signs would be permitted by
Plus a,
code.
plus a monument sign.
And a monument sign is permitted in addition to a wall sign for any,
I understand what you're saying.
Business.
However, I am not comfortable with a 3rd sign on the north side of the building when I'm looking at the building coming from Reed Street, traveling towards downtown. I'm going to see a sign on the side of the building and a monument sign at the exact same time.
So in order to not have a variance, they would shrink the same sign down by like 60%. So you'd have the same logo on 2 sides, one bigger and one smaller. That's what's, I mean, that's what's allowed. So you'd
Or-
still see the sign
Or
because
just
they,
one sign on the front of the building.
but they're allowed to have them on both.
I understand they're allowed to have it, but we don't have to give it to them.
Well, yes, we do. We can't
I was
block.
going to
Yeah,
say,
if you apply for a sign and it's allowed by code, we can't prohibit it just because we don't want it. So we have to be very cognizant and mindful that signs carry a different protection than a variance. We could modify the, the size and everything else, but if our ordinance allows it, we can't treat this applicant differently from every other applicant.
I was going to say, you kind of established a precedent with the Speedway.
Well, we're not talking
not
president.
talking
we're
about
talking
I'm just
mayor.
saying,
Yes.
you know,
Not here to talk precedent.
I understand what you're saying, but, it's just, you're asking us to eliminate a sign, so,
Which they have the right to use, the right to put in, as long as it complies with our city code.
Right.
So we can't restrict that use. I do, want to say that this sign itself, I want to just note that the original applicant had the big $3 car wash, and that
Yes.
was the angst of the Planning and Zoning Commission at that last time, was like, can you take out the $3 and make you, it was a little bit aesthetically not as pleasing, as not as out here as this one. And the history behind this application was that the special use was approved.
The special use expired.
Yeah, expired,
We're
yes.
under a new one now.
Yeah.
It's a different car wash, different company, different planet, different members of this commission, and different rules.
Well, the same
We're
rules,
not here
but
to
different
worry-
application,
I'm
yeah.
not worried about what was approved a year and a half ago. That expired. We're here on a new one tonight. And quite honestly, signage is an issue to one person. And, I mean, do you need that large of a sign on the north elevation on the 3rd Street side? I don't know. You need to tell us. Explain it.
Do we necessarily need a sign? Maybe not. I'd have to discuss it with my supervisors.
So you can't make the final decision.
No, I can't, I wasn't involved in the original plans of making this,
Okay.
so I couldn't discuss on the reasoning behind it.
I mean, we could always go back to the sign manufacturer and ask for a new rendering. That would be within the code, I guess, to submit to the city to see what that looks
Signs are
like.
completely different than the zoning, but yet they're part of the issue. Okay. Next, Scott?
I mean, I'm not in a position to say for the company that they would be willing to give that sign up or not. I mean, I can certainly relay that back to ownership.
Well, I mean, signs are significant, so the question is, how significant is it to go to a larger sign on the 3rd Street side? But,
Yeah, that was kind of my main issue. I also, there's this kind of tiny rendering here that was in our packet that shows where the overhead signage is, and it kind of makes it look like there's a fence in the back, and I just want to confirm that is not part of the plan. There's like it looks like a beige
Where your
fence.
kiosk is.
Kind of behind in the distance behind the entries.
I don't know if I have a hard copy of that with me.
You can
Where
grab
your
mine if
menu
you
board
want. or-
is, it faces to the west, and what do you see, what's he seeing at the end of it is what he's asking.
So it's in the sign package on,
It's in the sign package?
yeah, in the sign package on the third to last page. They're not numbered.
That's on the point of sale canopy that I
Yeah, so
think
you
you're
see
talking
the
about.
point of sale canopy, fine, that's, fits the zoning. It looks like there's like, in this rendering, there's a fence in the background. Is that existing, or is that proposed, or is that just a part of the rendering?
That's just part of the rendering. That was not something that was, I think what they were trying to do was just give you an idea of what the canopy would look like as you come around and entered into the point of sale. That fence was not part of that.
Okay, yeah, that's,
So that's just an inset rendering to give you an idea of what the canopy would look like.
okay, thank you.
Bill?
I tend to agree with Darren here. If the westbound traffic approaching this business is going to see the big monument sign, that makes the sign facing Third Street somewhat redundant.
If the sign is allowable, we have to allow it. We cannot take signage away.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying we should take it away, but what I'm saying is, if the westbound traffic is going to see this monument sign, that makes the sign on the north end of the building facing Third Street somewhat redundant and
Well, you have
serves no
different
real
views.
purpose.
If you're worried about coming from the west or the east, or from the north, there's three different sides of the building.
Yeah.
So if it's allowed in our zoning code, we have to allow it. We can't not allow it.
Yeah,
It's like zoning, but zone
Yeah,
C2, we can't take that away from them.
We can recommend, however, to not approve the variance and,
Yeah.
recommend that just the same, that whatever's allowed by code.
Well, and
is-
that's why I asked
yeah.
if that large of a sign on the north side
Right.
is a necessity, and they have the right to go for the variance. There's not a question about it.
And where exactly is the monument sign going to be in terms of, nothing in here really makes it clear to me where the sign is going to be at.
Do you have a picture of that, Kimberly, Lance?
Yeah.
It didn't appear the monument sign was located in the signage package on the plan.
Oh,
There's
it's
a
in,
sign, the monument sign is there, but I didn't see the location.
Doesn't
of
show
it.
where it's
Assuming
sitting
it's on the
on the
northeast
property.
corner of the property.
it's originally in the same location as it was approved before, which is the northeast corner of the property. You're correct. It's not located on their signage plan.
So pretty much at the intersection of Third and 159th.
Yes, it's proximate to the 3 lanes for the pay station, but it's in the same location as it was before.
So basically in that triangle area on the top right, as
Yeah.
we look at this, okay.
Yeah, it's more in the southern portion of that, but yes.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I speak, comment, or am I
Go
done?
ahead.
Would it be a potential compromise? My first question is, when you close in the evening, do you turn the lights off of your signs?
Do we turn the lights off? Not generally,
You leave them on all night?
yes.
As all
Would it-
other businesses do.
Would it be feasible to turn the lights off of the sign on the north elevation of the building? With the timer.
Absolutely.
But we're back to this. If our sign ordinance allows it, we cannot tell them they can't do it.
And I'm just asking the question if they'd be willing to do that.
Absolutely.
You had asked if there was a rendering of the monument sign. If you go to the last page of the sign packet, there is a rendering of
It's
that.
the location.
Yeah,
They were
I s-
wondering
I
what the
saw that.
Location was
Just
a
didn't-
concern.
Okay. Sorry, I
And it's at the
misunderstood.
corner of the triangle, to Third and 159. So, Bill, any more? Scott, are you done? I'm sorry. You done? Okay. Bill? Mr. Matt?
Would it be possible for, as more of a visual break, I mean, even even at that point of purchase rendering, I mean, they put that fence in the back to kind of visually break that up, right, by looking that way. Is it possible to put a, I don't know, 8-foot fence, private fence, like down that line? I mean, that's gotta be, what, a few hundred feet?
Well, there's a creek that goes through there, so the creek is a bit of a challenge to try to put any kind of a fence there. I mean.
We've got a
we could-
landscaping easement there.
The creek would be on the other side of the drive-in street,
Yeah.
not where you're talking about.
I'm just thinking, if you could put a fence and landscape on one side of it, it could visually
Oh, I see what
break it
you're
up.
saying. Okay, yeah,
It
yeah,
could
yeah.
keep down the noise that is pocketed by the, you know,
Talking about
centrally
here.
located vacuum.
Yeah.
But I guess we still would need that sound study to understand what's going on with that vacuum.
So you're looking mainly to block the headlights for the cars that are
Exactly. As
staging
someone
at
sweeps
the
through
point of sale?
neighborhood, It's 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock on a.
Well, yeah, in the wintertime, that would be an issue because
Right,
it's gonna be,
kind of blasting all the
gonna be
people in
dark.
apartments.
So, yeah, I mean, that's something we would need to take a look at is right
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, just something, I don't know what would be allowed by our code, but if it's a 6-foot, 8-foot, 7-foot, something.
I would imagine if we put in a fence, you'd want it to be like a vinyl composition fence that, you know, would be easily to keep maintained and not be able to get tagged and that kind of a thing, so,
Yeah, I
okay.
wouldn't be too concerned about that, but I'm just thinking from the residents' side to
Right.
find some sort of compromise.
No, I understand, No, I get what you're saying, because the lights will be lighting up right into that apartment
Right as you
complex.
sweep around the corner and
Just at
everything.
that turn and, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know, even if it's like down to the corner, like from here over to here and pocket it a little bit, just so it kind of blocks off the neighborhood a little bit. I mean, it is commercial property, there's gonna be cars there, but, I mean, this does usually
It's
put
gonna-
a lot more vehicles than typically.
So you're just talking about fencing along, if I get my directions
The
right.
residential side.
Not on Third Street, but actually where the back of the property
Well, I mean,
faces
little
into,
column A, column B, so, yeah, along Third and then on that back side there.
This backside here.
well, yeah, but he's talking about Third too, which is right here, which is where we've got the landscaping.
Those
So,
lights as
so
they
you're
swing.
segregating the public sidewalk from the business by putting in a fence there along Third.
Yeah, and it's more of a bifurcation because there's gonna be landscaping there anyways, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, most people aren't gonna walk up to a car wash, so.
They're not gonna carry their car up there.
I guess,
Their dog's up there.
I guess I would like to know how much linear feet of fencing you're asking for on Third. I mean, I understand on the west end by the apartment complex, I get that. I'm just wanting to know how much linear feet are you requesting along Third?
It's on the west, yeah, because the cleaning spots are here.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Are you referring, Matt, to the west side? I mean, because Third Street has got the cleaning spaces, the cars will be running parallel, and then they'll turn to the
Right,
west.
yeah, along, basically, I don't know if I can show you right here, like, even on
Basically,
this side here.
Yeah, the west
so it'd
side,
be- Yeah,
where Dairy Queen's over to the further left of it, but we've got the apartments there and the garages. There's garages there and then the apartment buildings, and there's some apartments to the north also,
Yeah.
and houses.
yeah, I was just thinking, you know, somewhat along that north side, the way that curves around and then back through, because, just because the lights will be casting kind of through the
Sure,
neighborhood.
on a turn, yeah.
So, or,
So basically, from your
Arborvitae,
Third Street entrance on the west side, headed south.
Yeah, on the Third Street entrance, on the west side of that, I guess that's what that is, adjacent to the garages for the apartment complex.
Yes.
Yeah, we get putting up fencing there, and apparently we can do that. It's along the other way, going back towards Ninth, the fencing
far do we
along
go?
Third Street.
right,
I'm trying to understand just how much fencing do you want put in there?
well, it's just more of a suggestion than anything, just as a, kind of a compromise from.
I guess for just not knowing exactly, looking to where the property tees and then goes, where the property bends.
I mean, where's the scale on this?
Yeah, because I don't think if you go along the property line from the far northwest corner, if you
You're
go,
in the tunnel.
if you go down that entire length, by then,
in the tunnel.
everybody will be in the tunnel, so if it basically just that, 90-degree angle line starting at the northwest corner of the property, and then once the property turns, I don't think you would need the fencing on that portion, but just that kind of that.
So you're just saying like,
From Third Street to the tunnel.
so imagine this is where the garage
You can
is.
use the mouse. There you go.
So you're saying.
There you go.
You're
Yep.
saying right here,
There you go,
Yep.
yep.
and then do a short return right here?
Or just, yeah, even.
And that'd have to be a short height also, though. 'cause
Yeah.
of-
Yeah, just from basically that northwest corner of the property, right there, and then go down, keep going south, basically to where the,
Right at that
keep going,
intersection point.
to the inner,
Well,
to
here
the,
we're hitting the creek right here.
Right. There's likely some,
yeah.
if I can make a suggestion, there are a fair amount of grading issues and slope that takes you down to the creek as you go further south from that parking area. So what I might suggest is, because there is a garage building directly adjacent to this property that's basically has no windows on that side of the wall, is I would fence the area adjacent to the drive aisle for that parking area, that 3-car parking area, down to the trash enclosure, to the south side of the trash enclosure. My guess is that's roughly where we're still flat-ish.
Yeah.
And I
in
think that's
that
fair,
area.
because then after that, everybody will be turning, the headlights will be then
Right.
facing back towards
Yeah.
9th Street.
Because
And
it
I-
straightens out and goes in the tunnel.
Right, and I would recommend that if the commission would like to have a fence along Third Street, that it go to just the pay stations or just beyond the pay stations. We will require another variance for that, though, because it would be in the corner side yard setback. This is an awkwardly shaped property, so theoretically it has 2 front yards, but we would consider it, because the main entrance is on 9th Street, that would be the corner side yard. So that does require an additional setback typically, but if the commission is requesting that a fence be placed on the Third Street
I don't think
side.
we're worried about a fence there, Lance. I think
Okay.
it's more the west, coming from Third Street, going
Okay,
to
Yeah.
the south.
Because you'll have cars on, cars on regular Third Street
I
with the
mean, we
lights and
might,
stuff anyway,
we
yeah.
might suggest
Yeah,
that
like I said, right here, that's really not a problem for us, this area right here.
Yep.
Whoops, sorry. It's just when it gets back here, it's like, okay, where do you want to break this off at?
where do you start and stop?
That's exactly.
Maybe we could increase the landscaping height.
I was going to say, we can look at the landscaping and maybe put in some taller shrubs that would maybe cut off that line of the headlight.
Sure.
As you come around, we could put up higher, more evergreen versus deciduous shrubs along Third Street that would help block that lighting off.
Okay.
if that's the preference of the commission, we can work with the applicant to identify a landscape plan that is appropriate.
I would agree, landscaping instead of a fence would accomplish the objective of preventing the light from shining into the neighborhood,
It would also be more aesthetically pleasing.
correct?
I was going to say, people, I don't know if they want to be looking at a fence, so.
Right.
I
The
think
landscaping idea
landscaping
is an
would be
excellent
much
idea.
more pleasant to look at, and like I said, to make sure that it's not an issue in the wintertime, we can make that evergreens versus a deciduous landscape. And then that way you've got that landscaping blockage all year round.
Bill, are there any engineering headaches that you haven't acquired yet?
The applicant is currently working with IDOT to get their permit, and that's the last remaining item.
Okay, okay. As far as the entranceway, that's been there for 50, 60 years, so, that and Dairy Queen, so, that's on. Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Mr. Garrity, you had a question, please come forward.
Same routine. Sean Garrity.
Oh, just,
Yep, You were already sworn in, so, yeah.
All right, I guess my question is that, and it just came up with this discussion, it's the impact to the neighborhood with headlights. I guess I never thought about it, and my son owns the house, and you know which one it is, Dave, it's Tom
Right across the street from
Drake's
the-
old house,
from the
which is right, if you could
point of
see,
sale,
right there.
yeah.
The red house. So this drive coming in will have headlights, he will have headlights going through his window all night long, or however late.
Well, yeah, not all night long.
So that's, that's an impact to the neighborhood. And so there has to be some kind of protection. I
Well, if they
mean,
increase-
you wouldn't want headlights, you know.
Nobody wants to see that. So if they increase the landscaping along that side.
Right, it's some
high
kind
enough
of
to block it,
protection for,
we're in
yeah.
pretty good shape.
Fence or, you know,
I think a fence would be detrimental to the looks.
evergreens, yeah,
Yes.
whatever, as long as you need to consider that. Thank you.
And I also
point.
think the
Thank you.
throat is long enough to, hopefully, if anybody's sitting there, it looks like there's stacking for about 4 to 5 cars. So, yes, will people be heading up there? Yes, but, you know, it looks like unless there's a major stacking issue, the headlights should not be facing north very often, which is,
Very
I
often,
think,
but they're,
helpful.
it's
Yes.
gonna be, they're gonna be swinging in the
Agreed.
whole time.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Good point, Aaron. Okay. Anyone else in the public wish to speak? Come on up.
Just a real quick thing, I know you guys said it's gonna close at a certain
That's
time.
all right. That's-
So, my only question is, I know they said it was gonna close at 7 or 8, depending on the weather, you know, season or whatever, but is there anything that's gonna be left on? Are the vacuums gonna be, where they're kind of self-service, you go there, so everything shuts off
No.
at 8 o'clock?
Except for lights.
My main concern, yeah, got it.
Signage. Yeah.
I got a couple. Do you have any of these buildings?
Sir?
Anywhere, pardon me?
Address the commission.
Yes.
Microphone.
All right. I'm just asking if they have a building that they've already built anywhere else other than here and trying to get into Lockport.
You have other buildings, guys?
That we acquired, we've never had a new build up in this market.
I'm sorry,
We've acquired locations, but never a new build.
not a new build-out. Okay.
So this is their first time?
First new
First time?
in this
doing
area,
this.
yeah.
My concern is still traffic, okay, because east and, or however you want to look at it, north and south, east or west, 9th Street is just a mess.
Where you coming from, yeah.
All right, but anyhow, it's just a 2-lane traffic road, okay? The amount of traffic cars is considerable, but the truck traffic is even worse.
We know it well.
So, my concern is still the safety aspect of the location going there, okay? Because you still have, you have a church across the street, okay? You have traffic coming out of there, right next to the car wash, future car wash, maybe, okay? You have a ice cream shop, which is family-oriented, okay? So in the summertime, how are people gonna go in and out there safely when somebody says, oh, I need a car wash, okay? And they look up at the sign, and all of a sudden, they're looking at a device, okay? I'm just saying, you know, their amount of concentration on the road, are they paying attention to the road, or are they paying attention?
That's something that's unknown to any of us, but they are required to put a deceleration lane in,
You know,
which would be a turn
it's just-
lane.
It's
into
just the amount
car
of distance that cars are close to each other,
Oh.
you know, and they start braking and that, and if, according to these gentlemen, you know, if you don't have, if the road isn't, it's gonna be dry, do we know that? No. You know, cars do drip. Cars do drip. I don't care how much water is underneath that frame and that, it's still gonna drip on the road, okay? And somebody hits the brakes, how many cars are gonna be behind or in front?
And IDOT, which is in charge of that road, is taking that into consideration. So that's out of our purview. We have nothing to do with that.
All right, so IDOT owns that 9th Street, which is Route 7, correct?
Yes.
All right. Do they have any future plans to widen it?
That I don't know.
In order to bring a 4-lane road, in, you know, the 4-lane road stops right at, if you're coming on 159th Street, the 4-lane road ends at,
Farrell Road.
thank you.
We have deceleration lanes and turn
Yep.
lanes at Farrell and 159th.
And
We're totally aware of it, sir. Just,
I drive them roads a lot. I know you probably don't know me in that, but I do drive, I work for the township. I drive a senior citizen bus, okay? And 7 years now. Over the course of those 7 years, I thought I seen everything prior to that,
You've never
No.
seen everything.
You know, people, I do the speed limit, okay? 40 miles an hour. I have a camera in the back of my bus. I lose sight of the front end of a car. How are people just gonna go and say, hey, this building is gonna be here, you know, I need to get into here? You know, are they gonna pay attention enough to?
That's something we don't know.
No.
We hope they do.
Just,
Like every other defensive driver.
Yep.
We have no,
But I'm just saying the location is probably not the best choice.
okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else from the public wish to speak? Hearing none, I'll have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Garland,
Second.
second by Wheeler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so we've got some issues with the fence, increased landscaping, hours of operation. What else did I miss?
Sound study.
Pardon me?
Sound study?
Sound study. What's your pleasure here? Nobody has a pleasure? Somebody's gonna speak up, because I can't say it for you.
Do we table it until further motion, like further actions taken on their behalf, including the sound study?
Okay, do you want to table it based on this, that? Or what do you gotta tell me.
Let's see here. So we had sound study,
Sound study, fence, increased landscaping on the Third Street side, hours of operation.
what was the hours of operation issue? 7-7,
Well, 7/7,
7-8.
you can't do any construction work in town after 8 o'clock, or before 8 o'clock on Saturday or Sunday. And I believe the other car wash opens at 8, which I don't know if there's,
They open at 7. Yeah.
okay. You've been there, obviously.
It's at 7.
Okay.
it's 7
That's
o'clock.
fine then. So,
I believe it's 6 on the weekday and 7 on weekends, if I recall that.
what is,
I think we're talking about two different things. Dave was
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
let's not-
Yeah,
construction.
and that's actually construction,
noise,
not business
and-
operations. So
And this is operations
That's-
for
they're two
business.
different
Yeah,
issues,
yeah,
but
two different
I'm just
issues,
saying,
because-
They don't want a contractor working before 8 o'clock
Yep.
on Saturday or Sunday because of the noise. Do you want a car wash next door to you, blowing blowers, vacuums and stuff like that before 8 o'clock is my question and comment. Doesn't matter, so.
If we start regulating businesses based on the hours and their use of noise, then that opens the door
Well, we
to
need to know the noise.
needing to set
Decibel level.
decibel levels and everything like
We've
that.
required decibel level studies all along. I mean, you sat here and listened to 40 hours of Walmart, anti-Walmart hearings. We went from the decibel level of an impact gun for a car with 5 lug nuts to a decibel level of a truck with 8 lug nuts at 310 feet away. So, if I lived there or you lived there, you'd want to know that too.
I'd like to make a motion to table
I
this.
I would clarify, the motion would be continue, because if you do a motion to table, you have to have another motion to untable the item.
When we
So-
open the hearing.
Yeah,
If
so,
if we table it today and we come back in a month or 2 months, we have to have a motion to
to
untable it.
untable it. So I would suggest a motion to continue, because we've already had a public hearing. The motion would be continue to deliberate on the vote regarding any additional studies that this commission will recommend, and it would be at the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting in May.
So we don't have to repost the public hearing is the reason.
No, you don't have to, because you've already published, you've already notified the public that today was the hearing. It was up to them to appear. We do not have to, republish. We do have to republish if you do a motion to table, because you are, ending it, and then you have to have another motion and all that stuff. So, motion to continue the matter for deliberation at the next Planning and Zoning Commission in May, with the direction that the applicant bring in the sound decibel study, and I think that was the only request, right?
Sound decibel and
Yep.
a
Yeah, updated landscaping, yep.
And the fence.
Yeah. So I'd like to make a motion to continue this until
May 10th would be the next meeting.
May 10th in regards to the sound study and the landscaping plan update.
And the fence, is the fence
And the
included in that?
fence.
Landscaping and fence?
Oh, landscaping
And sound
and-
study?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to continue this till the May meeting. And we'd like to hear the sound study, look at an increased landscaping plan and a fence. Is that correct? So the developer's totally aware of what we're asking? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
You got it. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
And Destin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay. Next up. Okay, the next one is, oh, no public hearing. Wow, how do we get away with that? Okay, excuse me, please. Please, go outside. Thank you. Okay, next case, concept plan for future amendment to the Rose Lockport Center. Kimberly, are you presenting?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Case before you, 2022-003. The applicant, Diane Menza, on behalf of Shelby LLC, has submitted application for a formal concept plan review for modifications to Rose Lockport Center, which is the vacant property, including the existing Murphy's Express gas station that is located on the west side of Farrell Road between Culver's and Aldi. The concept plan focuses on an additional lot to be created, a reconfigured site plan, and a change in potential uses. The aerial map is displayed on your monitor. The subject property is zoned C2 Community Commercial and is impressed with a special use permit for PUD. The approved 2016 plans consisted of 5 lots and 4 commercial users. One lot is designated for a detention area, and the remaining lots are for mixed-use commercial development to include an office building, a multi-tenant retail building, a standalone, I can put this on hold for a second. Let me just back up a little bit. The current development has a mix of commercial uses to include office, multi-tenant retail building, a standalone restaurant with drive-through, and a Murphy's gas station that has already been developed. The property has been vacant since 2016, with the exception of the Murphy's gas station. The applicant proposes to update the approved agreements and reconfigure the site plan to accommodate new potential developers. This case will continue on to the City Council, where it will join at the Committee of the Whole discussion relating to the annexation agreement. The annexation agreement for this development does not allow automotive uses. Automotive uses are defined as having service bay doors. The concept plan shows an auto use having service doors. Concept plan is displayed monitor. The concept plan illustrates an increase in the number of lots from 5 to 6. The plan consists of 2 smaller standalone commercial buildings versus the prior 11,500 square foot multi-tenant building that was proposed on Lot 1. The smaller lots are shown as Lot 1A and 1B. There is a QSR with drive-through proposed on both lots 1A and B. Other changes include a light automotive user having service doors on Lot 2 and a commercial automotive space versus office space on Lot 5. Access, general circulation and access points are similar to the existing approved plan. Cross-access will connect to Culver's existing drive to the north and provide full access at the traffic signal south of the Murphy's gas station. Parking is in compliance with city code. Elevations were not included with this concept, and they will be required at the time of each individual final development plan. Elevations will need to meet city design standards. Landscaping, a final landscaping plan will be required at the time of final plan, and landscape requirements will apply. Engineering review was provided. Comments are applicable to future review processes. All comments related to the concept plan have been addressed. And the Lockport Township Fire Protection District and the Building Department have not provided comments. I'll display a motion for you on the monitor. Should the commission find the concept plan for the proposed concept acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to approve the concept plan for modifications to the Rose Lockport Center development, subject to the following conditions. 1, the applicant acknowledges that staff has completed a general review only of the concept plan, and that a more detailed review will occur with submission of a preliminary or a final development plan. Staff comments at this time are general and intended to outline steps necessary if the project moves forward and to provide guidance and considerations for future submittals. Concept plans are valid 1 year from the date of the approval. Approval of a concept plan provides the applicant reasonable assurances to move forward with submission of a request to amend the PUD, preliminary and final development plans, and preliminary and final subdivision plats. The development plans shall be in general conformance with an approved concept plan. This concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Also wanted to just add a side note that the original 4 lots are expanding to 5 and not 6. The 6th lot would be the detention.
Right. Yeah. Excuse me. The applicant present, please come. Just state your name and address for the record. We don't need to swear you in. No.
This
got
is
away
not
with
a
it.
public hearing, this is a concept plan.
Can you hear me? I'm shorter than the microphone. There. My name is Diane Menza, M-E-N-Z-A. I represent Shelby LLC, the owner of the property, and 9440 Enterprise Drive, Mokina, Illinois. It's our address.
Okay.
Oh, they're up there. How do I go forward? Got it. Well, we've owned this property for a long time, and back almost 7 years ago now, we annexed 2 of the lots, and they showed them. They're actually kind of in the middle of the property, closer to Culver. We annexed those 2 lots, and we had purchased the 3rd lot from Aldi's as part of their development. We had an annexation agreement done at the time Murphy's was interested in the property, and this annexation agreement basically provided for, and I think you've already mentioned this, but provided for Murphy's to be approved, but not any other automotive use, light or not. What we've found over the past 7 years is that retail has changed significantly. As a consequence of that, we even had 2 different brokerage firms, major brokerage firms, one boutique that takes on these kinds of sites, and they just said, unless you get some light automotive use approved on that site, you're not going to generate interest. We do have an interested party for, and believe it or not, QSR is, as you know so well, is predominantly, quick service restaurants are predominantly along 159th because of that interstate access. But we do have a very good QSR that wants the northern lot closest to Culver. What that does is makes us, and the staff pointed this out, we basically have to build out the entire infrastructure, at least the interior road system of the property, plus bring utilities. I'm Italian, so I point a lot, sorry. Bring utilities to the various lots. As they mentioned, a lot of landscaping is already put up on the western boundary of the site, especially around the detention pond. We did have a landscape plan then, and we can reinstate that plan because it covers the perimeter of the property very well. So the ancillary service uses such as light automotive, whether it's an oil change operation, I hate to say that's a car wash, I don't want to say that, or some other light automotive use, would be acceptable. Staff advised us that what we should do is just select maybe 2 lots, and we did. One is the closest to the Murphys, because we do have an oil change company interested in that lot. And we picked the back lot 5 because that just needs something to get it going. It's far removed from the road. So I'm going to have Tom Siebert, from our architect from Seuss Construction, kind of go over, and I'll put this up there, Tom. There.
So is the market more driven now into automotive repair? I know retail is.
Automotive, maybe QSR if they're not represented in the market. We're seeing actually way back up in Johnsburg, where I have another site I'm working on. We're seeing some unusual activity in secondary markets for new types of soft serve ice cream and things like that. So we're optimistic that that second lot, Lot 1B, will have some traction. So if we get that frontage done, that'll be really good and will then be optimal to help us find something for Lot 5. And there is another, and Tom will walk you through that, but there's another easement, ingress-egress easement to the west of the site that goes into Silver Cross's
Silver
property.
Cross parcel, yeah.
Yeah, we sold Silver Cross that lot way back when we had owned more.
Oh, yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah. So Tom Siebert, go ahead.
Tom Siebert with Seuss Associates. My last name is Seibert, and Seuss Associates is SOOS Associates. Do I need to swear in?
No.
No, okay. I feel special now. Anyway, we have on the site plan here, since it came up at the end of Diane's presentation, we have, right here, we have a access road going on to any future development on the adjacent undeveloped site whenever anything happens there. As was described previously by Kimberly here, we have modified, this was originally Lot 1, that's been split in half. We also have adjusted the entrance drive to line up with the drives across the street. That is all based on Google Earth at the moment. We're waiting on a survey to get that nailed down exactly. But we have a straightened out access path running through the site that helps with fire department use of the site, where they have easy access through this route, and they also have easy access through here, as well as being able to get around any of the other paths here. We have also confirmed with our civil engineer that couldn't be here tonight that this new revised plan has less impervious surface than the previously approved version of the PUD, so that the detention area should be able to handle our current development, because it was designed for more runoff than we're going to have at this point. We have discussed with the village engineers about how the surface runoff in case of torrential rains, like 100-year floods, how it will run off the site, which would end up coming through here and here off the site.
Well, yeah, at Culvers, you've got about a 5-foot elevation difference.
Sorry.
You have about a 5-foot elevation difference from your site to Culvers. to the
Yes,
north.
we also have, this area is low enough for cross-access to Culvers. We expect to have some amount of a retaining wall at the edge of this parking in order to accommodate that without having a parking at an extreme level, and it will keep the runoff on our site rather than running off towards the culvert site, because that will be a curbed edge to the pavement there. We have, based on recommendations from the village, we've added in some cross-access, pedestrian access onto the various locations, some going through Lot 1B in order to get to Lot 5 and back. That's about the only way to do it for Lot 5. I believe that's about it. Anything else? I think that's about everything that I have to say.
Okay, so this is for engineering, Phil or Bob, whoever's on this. When Culvers was approved, at a certain point, they're supposed to put a pork chop in so they can't go left out of Culvers because of this, I believe. Has anybody looked at that? Lance, have you?
No, I recall that same thing. When Culvers was approved, they were given full access off of Farrell. But at such time as when the cross-access is established to the south, the Culvers driveway would be changed to a right only, left only, a right in, right out with a pork chop on their driveway. And what they're proposing right here would reestablish that cross-access easement that wasn't there previously.
Yeah, we have talked about that a lot, actually related to the corner property up at Farrell and 159th Street. Brent and I have reviewed with those owners as well as these owners that to put that right in, right out in only there limits the opportunity for that parcel itself, just from a real estate, for the corner parcel, just from a real estate perspective. Brent has also identified that he doesn't feel the right in, right out is required at that location or necessary, given the distance away from 159th Street it is. And so he was okay without having that reinitiated as a right in, right out. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, my main concern, and I think some others share that, is, you know, where that full access is that lines up with the Jewel. Getting out of Jewel now is already in. I see that there's number 3 on additional items to be addressed at final engineering and update to the 2015 traffic study. I really think that is important because I could foresee that, you know, needing to be signalized at some point, just because if you're trying to flow everything out to the south, stoplight by Murphy's, you're going to have, you know, some problems, I think, kind of backing up and things like that. And then, you know, I'm just worried about the safety aspect in terms of the, you know, splitting of the parcels and the allowing of the automatic or automotive uses. I think that is fair, and I think that's, you know, our job is to make sure that we're going along with the market and the demand and all of that. But from a public safety standpoint, I do think that number 3, the update or addendum to that 2015 traffic study, is going to be paramount, because I could foresee that full access point becoming a, you know, an issue in terms of auto accidents and things like that. So
Yes, staff, I think, had that as a recommendation.
Could you please use the microphone, Diane?
Sorry, Tom. Staff had that as a recommendation. KLOA, Louis did that study, and I'll have him, you know, redo that study again, which this is why we lined up. We had that approved, and that's why we lined up originally, and now again, this ingress egress place. Our QSR kind of moved it a little, so staff said, no, move it back, so we put that in there. But yes, we will do a study, and we will have that information.
yeah, and the good thing is if it doesn't require, or if it requires in the future, you are set up for it, right? The flow is good, the building locations, I think, facilitate it regardless of one way or the other. So we do appreciate that. So, but that was a major concern. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none?
Just suggestion, we've probably got over a dozen quick service restaurants all around town. You name it, we got it. All except one. I keep hearing people say, why don't we have a Portillo's here in Lockport? So you might want to approach them about one of these
You got
locations.
to talk to Portillo's about that, because we founded them.
There aren't enough drive-through spaces on that entire site to accommodate.
We don't have the cleaning spots for it, yeah.
Yeah, Portillo's takes up a lot of square footage.
Yeah.
And you're right, their stacking is unbelievable.
They just put one in Joliet that's a drive-up only, no dining room.
Because of that, right.
That's a
Yeah.
much smaller footprint.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your pleasure on the concept plan? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the concept plan for the future amendments to the Rose Lockport Center development, subject to the two conditions as submitted by staff in the report.
A second to that?
Second.
Second by Garland. Comments, questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Osmer.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes?
And Jessica.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the thing is, I think we're gonna see more of this with the market changing it as it has in the retail side of this, because we all know where that's going, but, okay.
Does this have to go to the city council?
Pardon me?
Does this have to go to
This
the...
goes to city council on when, Kimberly?
May 4th.
May 4th, 7 PM in this room. Okay, public hearings, what else we got here? Any old business? Citizens to be heard? Anyone from the public wish to speak? No. Chairman's report? Nothing. Commissioner's report? Anybody got anything?
Remind everyone to file their statement of economic interest if you have not done so already. Yes, so,
You're obligated by law to do
yeah,
it.
I believe May 5th or something like that
Yeah,
is
something-
dropped,
first part of
yeah.
May.
Yeah, yeah,
And bring a copy of it to the clerk's office and hand it in so she has it on file.
yeah.
Matt?
He did send a digital version in that we can print out and she can have.
Yeah, we do know who has filed and who has not, so we do get notified.
I think I was one of the only two.
Yeah. I did mine same day. Brought it down after I got it. So come on. Who else did it? Anybody else didn't do it? Who did it? Aaron?
I did it. No, it was
Yeah,
somebody
that's
else
fine.
completely outside of this.
Oh,
So, yeah,
oh,
outside of the room. It was just me.
Staff report? Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Likens, second by Garland. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, goodbye. Let's get out of here.